Hello, everyone. We are Team 162, the Wall Street Bullies, and this is our project final presentation for MGT 6203, Data Analytics for Business, Fall 2024. So just as a general introduction, as an asset management company, our mission is simple but powerful. We're trying to help our customers build optimum portfolios, specifically tailored to their unique financial goals. So investing can sometimes feel overwhelming for a lot of people. And that's why we have developed a solution that helps people make data-driven decisions based on historical investment insights. We have already seen in the market a lot of success stories of people who have taken similar initiatives like this in the past. For example, Jim Simons is a good example. He and his fund are known for using analytical tools and mathematical models and algorithms to make investment gains and use that information to get better investment opportunities. So that's basically what we're trying to approach here. By using key identified features, we're building a portfolio prediction engine that accepts risk thresholds as a user input to generate a recommendation of 4 stocks to invest in.
Thank you, Lucas. Dave Rader, another team member. So obviously, in order to make data-driven decisions, we need data and we need something to help us explore and interpret that data. Throughout this project, we identified quite a few key insights and some very important findings. First, the initial data had many challenges. As we explored it, there were significant amounts of missing data in terms of fields that were null or the data points that were extraneous. So we went through a set of cleansing in which we reduced by columns that had too many nulls to impute. We removed rows that were incomplete. But more importantly, as we went through the analysis, as we cleaned through the data, and we did feature selection through reduction, whether it was through correlation and VIF, we also used ElasticNet and lasso regression to contain down to what looked like the most effective set of features. The data that we typically get in financial analysis is extremely redundant and can be quite confusing to go through. So the modeling side alone was a great educator in how to deal with features and what features matter. More importantly, we identified that early on that we were going to have to take a sector by sector analysis. We wanted to do something that was going to provide value and not just be a random stock picker with like anything else that was out there. And one of the key ways to do that is to take a look at it by sector by sector. Our goal ultimately became we would choose a basket of stocks in each sector versus trying to choose an individual, and allow the analyst or individual investor to be given a recommendation of a basket that would be expected to outperform just that sector index. A couple of other things we identified as we went through the data is that while this is time series data, and that's very important when we look at this type of stuff, is that unfortunately we didn't have a lot of it. We did not have many rows per stock for the data we had, only a few years. And so instead we deployed strategies like lagging features so that we could create singular rows that had the time context of the data and allow us to get better modeling. As you can see below, from the analysis, we also had to deal with the potential impacts of outliers, but we dealt with that in 2 ways. Remember, not all outliers are outliers. And in this case, what we did was we did use Windsorization to constrain the price variance for the following year, even though that was a known quantity, because we did not want to skew what would look like a performance to sector average by accidentally or luckily picking a stock that overperformed that way compared to the average. So we use Windsorization to bring that down to the 99th percentile, but still keep it. But we did not remove intra-sector stocks that might have looked out of whack compared to others when with respect to things like revenue and so forth. The reason is those values are reported. They're real numbers. They're not outliers. They are the companies. And we wanted that within each sector. So, for example, it's quite possible to have within one sector a very large, massive company and then a bunch of smaller companies. Well, the revenue of the large company is still real, just because it's much larger than the smaller companies. So we took a targeted approach to how we dealt with the data. Lucas, we could go to the next slide. So as we did that and executed our strategy, what we also realized is that we wanted to have separate models per sector. This is because, again, just as an analyst might do, oftentimes we look at things within their own competitive and like industry and not just across the whole. A classic example is that if you were to take a look at a tech company you might invest in, you will actually look at that entirely different than you would an energy company. There are things that are going to matter for an energy company, which is a much more sort of either a dividend or slow growth or consistent based investment than a technology company where you may be willing to take a negative earnings per share, but the growth potential for that company may be very high. So it's another reason why it's very important to do it sector by sector. We were able to, as you can see down below on the chart on the left, we were able to generate algorithms, models that could predict high-performing baskets of stocks within each sector. And what you actually see there is that for each sector, there is a model behind it. We developed that by training multiple models for each sector across multiple different types of feature sets. As I said before, ones that have been reduced with VIF, ones that have been reduced with Elastic Net, ones that have been reduced with lasso regression, as well as in some cases, we used full data sets where we could afford the collinearity for things like, say, random forest and stuff that are a little bit more resilient to that, to see what we can get as far as the best performing model, the best performing features for that model for that sector. And so what you see here is the results of each of those. And you can see that compared to baseline for each one of those sectors, as you look at the thresholds across the x-axis, which is basically the probability marker, you can see that we're able to develop models that in every sector outperformed or at least certainly matched the performance of the sector as a whole. But you also get to see the impact of what it means to be more or less discretionary as you move that threshold up or down, more or less discretionary as to which stocks you buy. Some sectors are very dependent on the values you choose. On the right, you'll also see where the strategic value of what we were doing from an organization. How would we get this out to our customers? How would we're going to monetize this? We developed an app, and it is actually available online with a front-end interface to be able to manipulate and play with your targets and have the response come back based on the model for that particular sector, that particular threshold that you've chosen. You'll get the stock tickers recommended and what the basket price performance for the following year would be compared to the total sector average. One other thing I will note at this point is that when we did this, in order to make sure that we could isolate these high-performing stocks within respect to the sector, we ensured that we had at least active stock tickers. So one of the things we did was we took out any tickers that were not still reporting. So anything that did not have data in our most recent date in our data set. But also we required at least a minimum number of years for data so that we were not getting noise from new stocks that were just coming in that were more difficult to actually generate some real historical performance from. So ultimately, what we've provided is a tool that would empower investors and analysts, giving them insight into how to outperform the base sector index fund for whichever sector they're looking at.
Thank you, David. Hello, my name is Alyssa, and I'm also a team member. So, Wall Street Bullies as a company should work well for three types of potential customers or interested parties: the analyst, the investor, and the stakeholders. For the analyst, the recommendations could include using modeling to screen for better performing stocks and using Wall Street Bullies as a starting point to build their own modeling to create their desired insights. For the investors, such as potential stock traders, Wall Street Bullies could be utilized to explore several different stock sectors and performances based on the level of risks they are willing to accept. And then for stakeholders or the investors of Wall Street Bullies or any partners, some insights could include using modeling as a tool to analyze stocks without adding their own biases to do better business decisions or make them. And then for some implementation steps to perform these recommendations, these could include beginning by investing in data acquisition so that the models have more data to create better predictions off of. The model could also be translated in a way that would be a lot easier and accessible for investors to understand and provide easier model insights. Another implementation step would be creating a subscription-based virtual storefront for analysis and investors to access and utilize the services provided by Wall Street Bullies. Next slide, please. Thank you. So for the implementation plan, in the high-level planning, some steps could be performing more rigorous model performance testing and improvement, fully expanding the data pipeline to include more historical data and automate real-time data, finalizing a web app storefront for a subscription service, and developing a go-to-market plan, as well as trying to find a partner with a highly recognized name to invest in the company and build recognition for Wall Street Bullies. Some resources and support needed for Wall Street Bullies could be funding and hiring employees. Another resource would be in cloud deployment, as well as building up a sales and marketing consulting team and using a third-party partner to provide product validation. In terms of timeline to do all this, the timeline to perform this implementation would begin with the technical portions, such as testing the model and improving it to have more data. This would take around 3 months. Then we would move to the sales and marketing phase, where we would actively market the product and confirm its potential value through third-party validation. This would take us up to 6 months. And then our final 3 months would be used to go to market and make Wall Street Bullies a successful company. Next slide.
Thanks, Elisa. This is Manivan Narasimhan. I'm a team member of Team 162. The challenges and mitigations of this business model. You have heard of the term, or maybe you assume that you are in an ocean. And there is water everywhere, and there is not a single drop to drink. It is a similar situation. There is lots and lots of data about everything, but the right amount of curated data to train the model well for better performance is almost non-existent. So that's a big challenge. The noise in the data, the amount of data that we need to process, and the right amount of data that we need to have is an important challenge. So in order to mitigate that, we should establish a fully automated data pipeline. That itself is a challenge, but also mitigation. Like our team member pointed out, we have models specific to sectors because of the way the models perform, and then because of the way the individual stocks within the sector perform. So we will be limited by the models that we offer by sectors. So any potential customers that may want to target other sectors, they could, we should build other models for them and acquire more data for them. This whole place, this marketplace has potential. There is a lot of competition. One way or another, data is used to make decisions in investments. So that's a highly competitive marketplace. That's a challenge. The models will tend to drift over time. The data we use to train the model could be stale, and the predictions can go wrong. So we need to have some sort of mitigation to identify the model drift and fix it. And there are other mitigation strategies to further enhance the business model. We can use third-party partners, customers, that want to test the model, and then we could also have partners who could allow their customers to test the product. Next slide, please. Our journey is just beginning. There is about 13,000 stocks listed in the US, and there are tens of thousands more all over the world. It's humanly impossible to pick the right business without investing a lot of amount of time. So this, the beginning that we showed as a prototype, proves that this is worth the effort, and it will prove to be successful. Like another team member pointed out, there are proven examples of people who have made their wealth in this business model. So like I said, our journey is just beginning. We have lots of potential in continuing this. Long-term improvements, we can change our app, we can make it easily accessible to our customers, we can explore predicting price variance following year. There are lots of potential use for models and other features that are useful for our customers. Next slide, please.
Yeah, as we wrap up, we wanted to highlight our key achievements. So throughout this project, we have tackled critical data challenges, including identifying, processing, missing values, multicollinearity, and managing outliers. And we have successfully built a portfolio prediction engine that not only meets customer-defined criteria, but also outperforms the average sector basket return on capital. Furthermore, our engine allows users to input their acceptable risk threshold and dynamically adapts our recommendations to their preferences. So this is just the beginning. We believe that by further investing on data acquisition, the potential for this project can be significantly expanded. At its core, our work demonstrates that the power of analytics in decision-making removes bias and emotions from investing and helps customers confidently work towards their financial goals. This prototype proves that data-driven strategies are not only effective, but transformative as well. So thank you very much for your time. And this is Team 162, the Wall Street Bullies.